Listen, the thing sucks. The most important sandbox element that the plasma pistol fills in Halo is its relation to removing shields and draining vehicles. And in Halo Infinite, it does a pretty mediocre job at removing shields, and it can't even drain vehicles. It just sucks. I'm MrBamble, and this is my channel.
Hey, I didn't know you made house calls for Hammer. You know our motto, we deliver.
So today we're going to talk about the different changes that the plasma pistol has had over the years, how that's affected the sandbox, and finally why it's so important to have that EMP ability for big team battle to be fun. Really fast, let's cover the plasma pistol's history. That'll help us understand how its combat has evolved over the years, and allow us to better understand how we can avoid making bad design decisions in the future. So let's just simplify everything down and say that there's basically only two things that have happened to the plasma pistol over the years. It has either been refined with minor tweaks done to the design, or it's been redesigned with significant changes done to it in order to meet a new sandbox need. So now let's just focus in on the redesigns and kind of look at what they gave to us and also what they took away from us. In the beginning, there was the plasma pistol. And this cute little thing's main purpose was to remove shields. And this dynamic remained very similar in Halo 2. However, for Halo 3, the redesign allowed the plasma pistol to become a key component of big team battle by allowing it to EMP vehicles. It, along with other equipment such as the SMG in the power drain, filled a very specific role in the big team battle sandbox. These are weapons that had low utility against vehicles, clear indicators to those vehicles that they were on the map, and therefore they could be placed in high abundance inside of non-vehicle areas like bases. This made an effective counter to those vehicles for Spartans. So for Halo 4, the redesign on the plasma pistol filled a very specific role in ruining big team battle. You could literally create a vehicle killing loadout that had the plasma pistol and plasma grenades and just spawn with it every single time. And due to this, vehicles, the literal foundation of big team battle, was completely undermined in Halo 4. I mean, how are you gonna design a big team battle experience without its core? Without the vehicles? With these cracks in the foundations and a lot of other issues, the game type just crumbled. Where Halo 3's plasma pistol redesign opened up brand new opportunities, Halo 4's redesign destroyed them. In Halo 5, the redesign was actually pretty good. We had the insane speed and tracking buff in order to make it fit into the sandbox that had way more mobility in it. Now, it was a little bit overpowered in big team battle, but remember that big team battle in Halo 5 was more of a community playlist than a 343 one, which is why it's actually pretty good, because 343 doesn't understand how to design big team battle. The community developed maps that stayed in the playlist used the plasma pistol intelligently on their maps. It reopened those opportunities for experiences that we lost in Halo 4. So for Halo Infinite's redesign of the plasma pistol, I'm genuinely confused. Nerf the tracking. Who needs to use it anyway? Remove the EMP. Who needs to use it anyway? Now, remember the two key components of the plasma pistol's sandbox magic: removing shields and draining vehicles. The shield removing is pretty terrible in Halo Infinite. If I had to compare it to an experience, it's kind of like when you try and punch somebody while you're dreaming. I don't know if it's like the desync or the low tracking, or I just don't know. So what I do know is what it feels like to have that plasma pistol in my little Spartan hands. And it's not a good feeling. It's frustration is what it is. And I don't think that I'm alone in that feeling. So I just don't pick it up. And not surprisingly, I don't really ever have it used on me either. So, key component number 1, removing shields. Seems underpowered, could use some refinement. Key component number 2, draining vehicles. So here's the mistake that I think was made. There's this idea that since there's this new weapon type, shock weapons, that fill that spot of draining vehicles, that everything's just fine. It's not. If you want to drain a vehicle, you still can, with the shock rifle, the shot grenades, or the disruptor. You just can't do it with the plasma pistol. I mean, which technically is a return to classic usage of the Halo plasma pistol before Halo 3. But in my mind, that's just going back to when big team battles sucked. It's not just that you can drain vehicles, it's how that ability fits in the sandbox that's important. I mean, in Halo 4, you could still drain vehicles, right? But it was how it fit into the sandbox that ruined Halo 4's big team battle. So as we talked about, the plasma pistol was a key ingredient in creating a good big team battle experience because it had low utility against vehicles, clear indicators that it was on the map, and therefore could be placed in non-vehicle areas as a counter. Now, let's directly compare that to these shock weapons. They have high utility against vehicles, they don't have very clear indicators, and they're still placed in non-vehicle friendly areas. So yeah, they do drain vehicles, however, they fit inside of the sandbox in a very similar way to the plasma pistol in Halo 4. That is to say, the opposite way it does in any Halo with a good big team battle. And as far as the removal of the EMP ability, I'm just upset as a big team battle fan. I mean, the only thing in the sandbox that even comes close to filling that role is the Disruptor. But personally, the only thing that I think that it's disrupting is the fun. These are the experiences of the Disruptor, hitting a vehicle a few times before it disappears around a corner, stepping out of cover to maintain that line of sight for a couple extra shots just to get killed. And then when you actually do drain the vehicle, I mean, it's so far away that you can't even really engage with it. All of these experiences have one thing in common: frustration. This is the wrong F word in game design, and usually it makes players want to say another F word. Traditionally, as an occupant of a vehicle, you could both see and hear the plasma pistol overcharging. So you feel like you're actually in control and you can react strategically based on that information. If you do get drained, you actually feel a little bit of responsibility. It's fun. Now, against the Disruptor, most of the time when you get drained, it's more of a confusing experience. Usually you're pretty far away from the guy that drained you, and with the paper vehicles in Halo Infinite, you're probably going to get blown up by one of the other 11 Spartans on the map. And again, this is just the wrong F word that you feel. So how do we fix the plasma pistol in Halo Infinite? Well, to me, what we have to do is focus back in on those key aspects that made the plasma pistol so good in the past. Those two things being removing shields and EMPing vehicles. That's it. And honestly, the best bet might be for 343 to make a variant that can drain vehicles and is a little bit easier to wield when it comes to removing shields. This way they can place that variant on the unranked matches and leave the current one in on ranked matches and maintain that intricate balance that they have. And this way, when Forge comes out, the community can create what I would call a squad battle, a more traditional big team battle experience. But then again, I don't really recall seeing any pros use the plasma pistol in any of the Halo Championship series that I've watched. So maybe a second variant really isn't necessary, just like a double buff. So tell me what you think down below. Let's talk about it. And if you like this content, you know the drill. Thank you for watching.